Hey YouTube, how's it going? Lawler here. As always, we've got an update about a video we made a couple weeks ago, and if you guys are unfamiliar, let's give you a little bit of history and rundown on the DDoS and bot situation going on. If you guys haven't checked out that video, easily linked probably down below or somewhere up top here, but we talked about kind of the ongoing situation where a lot of pro players are expressing frustrations about being DDoSed and basically having the ability to where if they're streaming or otherwise they boot into a lobby and then someone sends a bunch of information. You know, we talk about internet packets, ones and zeros, etc., and they just flood the server to the point where you can't connect, you can't react to it, overwhelms the server crashes, and because the person DDoSing is the one controlling it, they're the last one to leave the server, therefore they get considered a win because the entire other team is forfeited. That's been going on. There's a lot of popular streamers and stuff that are getting basically DDoSed every single match, and they literally can't even play ranked, and then on top of that, they can't even stream, which unfortunately for Rocket League content, that's about all you can do, just play ranked. So the difficulty with all of that kind of stuff is just, it's frustrating for two reasons, and the pros have expressed this. Number one, how are you supposed to practice? Sure, scrims and stuff are great, to which I say, hey, if you guys have like a 6-man's or a 4-man's queue with a private server on Discord, you could do it that way. It's probably going to preemptively make it so private matches aren't going to receive that DDoSing type of stuff. I can tell you right now, in literally every other esport and every other professional title that people compete in, most of them understand that ranked is not for them. The rank system was not made for them. It's not balanced for them. They are the outlier. So they do have to revert to other third-party things, whether it be with Counter-Strike and paying for a different service and doing things that way. Why Rocket League refuses to do that, I don't know. Why Rocket League continues to gatekeep certain people from those servers because they deem them not good enough or whatever. I think you should not have a 6-man's committee. You should be doing objective results. That's for probably a different video, but just in my opinion, it's again something that could be done. Why they don't do it or why they start it and then stop it, nobody knows. That being said, this conversation has been ongoing for a while, and just as a general rule of thumb, DDoSing has been an issue since the history of like the internet, whether it be from like taking down corporate sites for malicious reasons or otherwise. Online gaming has been subjected to DDoS attacks and internet overwhelming, like packet pushing type hits forever. It's not something that goes away. It is not something you can fix. It is not something that you can just put a band-aid on. Basically, it is a cat and mouse game. You guys do this server attack. We find a fix and we find the root cause, not only the accounts that are doing it, but also how it's being done. We patch it, we ban those people. Those people then come up with an update. They figure a way and a loophole around the fix, and it just keeps going back and forth, and they keep leapfrogging each other until the end of time. The only ways around that really are by creating some sort of anti-cheat client that we would then have to load before Rocket League boots up. And then that would then hopefully do a better detection. Most people don't like those because they install to your local drive and it's a kernel-based program and stuff. We don't need to go into all that details, but basically it's if you create an anti-cheat, then you just have to hope the anti-cheat is then detecting when people are doing that and then banning them as they boot in. But at the same time, same thing, cat mouse. Hey, they're banning me for doing this because it's been detected. Well, we found out how it's detecting it, so now we've got another change. And again, cat and mouse. It's in every game. It's pretty common. We're actually really lucky in Rocket League that we haven't had to deal with it for like the first like 7-8 years to the degree that we have. We've actually been very blessed that there's been no hackers in Rocket League, and it was something we used to tout about. So that being said, this has now become kind of a general update and some news to the information, but just as a blanket statement, there is not a fix. There is not a hey, this is taken care of. This is not a, hey, it's gone. The unfortunate reality is there's a lot of really sad people out there that stink at the game, and for two reasons are incentivized. One, they want the high flashy rank title just so they can flex on their friends that nobody believes them that they're actually SSL. And then the second part is they do it for money. There's people that want to buy accounts that are boosted to that level, and it's a service that is provided. When that stuff happens and when there's people that want the easy route, this stuff isn't going to go away. That'll never change. That's just the unfortunate reality of the industry. That being said, what is not acceptable, you guys heard me talk about this a little bit in my recap videos, and Jack expresses it I'm very upset that there is no admins to help manually look at this stuff in a tournament. Signups are limited. There is a specific amount of players that you have to maintain and watch when we get into the top 192, the top 64, the top 32, etc. It makes it very easy to manually look through those well-known names or see some people that have been malicious actors in this. The fact that there is no admins for the event and you are starting to see people DDoSing or botting coming in is a problem and is something that could be easily remedied, and there is no excuse for it. As Jack says, it's unfair and shows huge ignorance. Give us admins for the rest of regionals. It's not that hard. And I agree. It's not that hard. There's plenty of people that have done it. Volunteers should not be volunteers anymore. They should be compensated for their efforts. And this just goes to shows the importance of their involvement. There's no excuse for it. Just simply no excuse. We talked about that in my previous recap video. That's no different. But yeah, that part is unfortunate. Moving forward, though, some things started to change. Vatira in particular has been very vocal about the situation and talking about how they're reporting DDoSers to Epic. You just need to ban them at this point, and you're not doing it. Help me. And this is mostly coming from him because he's getting DDoSed by the same person. There is typical culprits that either have their name as like the Discord server that they use or vice versa. But when he's being DDoSed by the same name in lobbies over and over again, from his perspective, it's like, clearly this is very obvious. This is a problem. I've reported this dude. What's taking so long for them to review the report and get rid of this guy? What's the issue? What's the delay? And that's where their frustration's coming in. They don't understand why when I report person for cheating in game, the system doesn't immediately go and have a very easy way to go, yep, this guy's doing something weird. Hey, this guy's a bot and his reaction time is under these parameters really, really quick. Why isn't there a detection for that? Hey, this person all of a sudden, like, check the server. Why is it pinging really high and this guy's still able to play normally? What's the situation? Why is this not detected immediately? And that's where their frustration comes in. What I will say is there's a duality to this. This is not a good way to go about doing things. Having something trend on Twitter or doing what you can for your platform to make people aware of it, I don't think is a bad thing. I do think that there needs to be, in my professional opinion, a conversation that has happened behind the scenes. Hopefully he has the context being who he is, where he can discuss and have a conversation and be like, listen, I'm being DDoS constantly. These are the problems that are happening. These are the sources. Here's the links to their profiles. I'm doing everything I can provide. What do I need to do to make sure that this gets remedied faster? Can you give me any updates on what's going on? Can you tell us what's going on? And I can understand it gets to a point where people have been begging for answers. People have been begging for communication. People have been begging for information, and it's just not happening. And that's on Epic. This is notorious from Epic. This is notorious, and this is me being very critical of them. The one thing we all wish Epic was better about is communication. They quite honestly stink at it. They really do stink at communication. It's one of their biggest flaws. A simple, hey, we're working on it goes a very long way. It at least tells your community that you're being heard and that you're being listened to. And while you may not have the answers right now, just know you're looking into it. A simple message saying, hey, we hear you, we understand, we're also working diligently. And because this is a cat and mouse game, as I talked about it earlier in the video, this is not something that is going to just be easily fixed and something that's just going to go away. But as you guys noticed, it went away temporarily. Now it's back. Why? Because they found a way around it. And now it's that next iteration. It's that constant back and forth, that cat and mouse game that we're talking about. So while I think publicly tweeting hashtag Rocket League is dead, asking people to join the movement, this and that is not professional, I can also understand from his POV where he's coming from to the point where he's so frustrated because it's gotten ridiculous. Whether it be him, KDOP, anybody streaming, AlphaCap, all those guys, like everybody streaming is basically getting DDoS like crazy. And there's a ton of people also having to play against bots. I watched Chief Beef have the same thing where it was a guy queued up with himself, basically a second controller that he had plugged in, and he's running a bot program, and he's just having two bots play together so he can get into SSL. And while Chief Beef and them still won because the bots are easily exploited, it's still a thing that is happening. So based upon just watching the video, I can tell, hey, that those inputs, that reaction is impossible. Like no human can do that. So there needs to be better detection and things of that nature to figure out what is going on. Now, that being said, the worst look for this is that you see this happen on November 23rd, and then we finally get an answer on the 24th from Epic. Now, I don't know if Epic Games was planning on making this post beforehand, but it is coincidental to the fact that you see this hashtag trending and then it is immediately replied to rather than being preemptive. And this is just a word of advice from Epic. It should never take this to make this. This should have came a long time ago. Even if you didn't have all the answers, you still could have said, hey, we know they're happening. We're working on it. You could have just said that, but the fact that it is happening after this is not a good look. Whether it is coincidence or not, I don't think matters. So they do have an update on the server attacks, and they state, hey, it's top of mind. We understand. We're talking about what we've been doing, which I think is good. They're explaining the things that they're putting emphasis and insight onto. At the end of the day, this community just wants communication. We want to hear what's going on. We want to know what is happening. So, how is this happening? There's two types. There's a denial of service, a DOS, and a distributed denial of service, DDoS. The difference is DOS, it tricks the servers into doing a lot of work that they don't need to, so much that they can't focus on running a match, while the other one is flooding that server with a bunch of internet packets, usually called a botnet. Not talking about James Bot's community, but used by an attacker to flood a game server with data. Send a bunch of ones and zeros, a bunch of internet packets to the point where it overwhelms it, and it crashes. Initially, attackers would join a match, launch their attack, and disconnect all the other players. All the players disconnect, which means their team's the only one left. The game ends. They get their MMR. We made a few changes to combat them last year. We optimized the server code to be far more resilient, and we've also added detection. With these changes, we saw a massive decline, which is true. A lot of people saw it alleviated for a little bit. And then the number of attacks, while continuing the ban accounts, died. They even sent a cease and desist to one of the people that they recognized through IP tracing. And they threatened legal action. The next version of these attacks exploited game servers by tricking them into doing the work that they didn't need to do. So here's that cat and mouse. Hey, we recognized, we tried to beef up, we tried to prevent. Well, now they've got a new version. We're going to trick your server into doing more work based upon the way that it's detecting it. That's our innovation. So, as they did that, the attack method is different. It's updated. It's changed. So the things that we made, now we've got to update again. We fast followed with a patch for the second attack method earlier this year. This is also when we increased the number of accounts banned tied to DDoSes. What's happening now? While we're able to mitigate some of the methods, unfortunately, this is a cat and mouse game. It's going to go back and forth for a while. We're going to continue to see each other leapfrog. That's just the reality. They evolved their tactics to new techniques, including the use of much bigger botnets. Previous attack methods were a drizzle. Today's attacks are a flood. So they are seeing a massive increase in internet traffic on their servers due to this. I will tell you guys all right now, hardware ID bans don't matter. Banning MAC addresses don't fucking matter. IP address bans don't matter. It is very easy to spoof a MAC address. It is very easy to spoof an IP, whether it be through VPNs or otherwise. So as much as we want to do hardware bans, it's very easy to spoof that stuff. Again, the cat and mouse game is the innovation. We used to have MAC bans, so you was banning the physical MAC address on your software. So like, I know somebody through server stuff that they used to ban motherboard MAC addresses. So if you say you're hacking in Counter-Strike, your motherboard gets banned, you go to boot up Counter-Strike, you can't. You're banned. So not only do you have to replace and buy a new motherboard, you got to take your whole computer apart, plug in your motherboard, plug everything. It was so annoying for the hacker. That's why they did it. You know, you're going to spend another $300 on a motherboard and everything else on top of it, time, effort, energy. So they made a spoofer. Now you can spoof a MAC address so it shows one that is not actually yours. It's no different than a VPN. So those things are continuous. They're issues in cybersecurity. It's why cybersecurity is one of the most sought after positions and one of the most stable positions in the industry, just because of how much cybersecurity is important. So they continue to go through the malicious attacks. They're talking about, hey, we're expanding, we're doing what we can, we're trying to absorb more traffic, we're trying to work on detecting malicious things and discarding traffic before it reaches matches. But we're continuing to take action against bad actors. We're doing what we can, including people in the competitive leaderboard. The thing is it is better to ban in waves than it is to do small, minute bans, because people will then just continue to do. It's better to get rid of everybody and have a patch that comes out that covers an entire process, because it alleviates a lot faster. It gives them less times to adjust and make the reverse engineering happen. So what's next? We're going to expand our efforts. Makes sense. It's one of our top priorities. No place in the Rocket League community for it. Some attacks are going to slip through the cracks as methods evolve. We've already seen that. Even after this update and this ban wave went out, people already 10 hours later, people in chat are talking or dealing with it. Not surprised. You can't catch everybody. Hopefully you do in time. Again, I can't recommend enough for you guys. If you run into this, report the account and then report it for cheating. That is the specific place to go. That's what they talk about here. And they say, thanks for all the patience. Now they do have an update to this even more so, saying after the improvements in our detection methods, they completed an initial ban of 5,500 in accounts. And I can tell you right now, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm sure there's a whole lot more. We will continue to take action on players who disrupt fair plays, continue to take steps towards securing Rocket League's competitive integrity against cheaters. More bans are coming. Thank you for sticking with us as we continue to fight back. This is, and again, I'm going to reiterate this for like the umpteenth time, not going away. The unfortunate reality is this is going to be a thing that sticks around. This is going to be a thing that every game since I can remember has dealt with this. Whether it be hacks, aimbots, you name it, there's going to be people that want the easy route. It's just the reality, and it's even more prevalent, I think, in a game like Rocket League because of how difficult Rocket League is to get to the top. It is not an easy game. So I think people are more enticed to take that easy route, especially if it is as accessible as it has been. It's an unfortunate reality, but it is the reality in which we are living in. So that is the update. That is the situation. There is no permanent fix. Maybe we see an anti-cheat in the future. People have joked about every game you boot in, you're going to have to tell me where the traffic light is, or where the bus is, or where the bicycle is, and do a CAPTCHA before we get into our lobbies to confirm you're not a bot. But that being said, I still think most of my teammates are bots anyway. Either way, that's going to do it for today's video. Hopefully this update has been helpful. Hopefully it keeps you guys in the loop about what's going on. Again, we all knew they are working on it. They are paying attention. We all just wish the communication would come preemptively before we see a poop storm from social media. That being said, as always, if you guys want to stay up to date on all things Rocket League, like, subscribe, notifications, hit me up with the socials, join the Discord, all that kind of stuff. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
It is ooh la la Lawler.
Bang a video.